Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the common bug electric type Pokemon Joltik, the Attaching Pokémon, and its uncommon evolution Galvantula, the EleSpider Pokémon. While they might be very small and unassuming at a young age, the members of the Joltik family are electrifying arachnid-morphs that can more than deliver a shocking surprise to anyone that doesn't get out of their way. Joltik possess tiny bodies with 4 small, single-clawed legs, the claws being a dark blue color. Likewise, they have 2 sets of eyes, with a smaller pair on their forehead and a larger pair situated on the front of their face, complete with noticeable black pupils. Their entire body is covered in a thick mat of yellow hair, and while quite soft, it is capable of conducting an electrical current and is thus not worth touching unexpectedly. Their evolved form, Galvantula, still possess a coat of thick yellow hair over most of their body, but their legs have grown considerably in length, and the ends of their claws have swelled into a bulb-like form at the tip of their legs, with an additional pair developing near their mouth region, being used as clawless grasping appendages to more readily bring food to their mouths when feeding. They now have 6 blue eyes, retaining the 2 large ones on their face while developing another pair of small eyes on their forehead, and the back of their bulbous abdomen is coated with a pattern of purple zigzag-like markings of purple hair, much as is the underside of their head. The back of their abdomen further possesses a series of blue hair tufts on the sides, and its underside is coated in a similar shade of blue fur. The members of the Joltik family are unique among bug types for being among the few creatures assigned to the type capable of wielding electricity as a weapon. This power comes courtesy of a gelatinous electrochemical organ that can generate electricity either through the chemical breakdown of proteins that they consume, which in turn leaves them with few waste products to excrete, or by absorbing it directly from an electrical power source, which has often proven to be critical to their survival in urban environments. While they might not have the correct anatomy to be considered true spiders, they, like the members of the Spinnerack family, possess behavioral traits that line up strongly with their arachnid brethren, particularly those that build nests in order to trap prey. However, these creatures are notably different as they have the power to electrify the silk they produce to make their webs, and since they basically just absorb any electricity that hits them in low energy doses, they can weave their webs freely with this electrified thread with few consequences. As a result of this, these beasts are the only Pokemon that are able to naturally learn the unique Electro Web attack. While the move isn't exactly that powerful, they do gain access to it at a fairly young age, and in addition to dealing minor damage, the attack works like the Icy Wind attack in that it electrocutes and partially immobilizes their targets, lowering their speed stat in the process. This can make these creatures terrifying beasts to have to face if mobility is needed as an advantage, which is a problem in and of itself, as these creatures are surprisingly quick on their feet and can easily run circles around opponents while attacking them with both physical and special attacks as they continue to be repeatedly demobilized. Not surprisingly, as a result of their natural anatomy and hair-raising furry appearances, these creatures can possess the compound eyes and unnerve abilities as base abilities, being the only Pokemon that can have the latter ability as a base ability. In addition, if their ferocity and viciousness in a fight is particularly noteworthy, they can also have access to Swarm as a hidden ability. In terms of stats, in the case of Galvantula, while a decent number of their stats are above average for fully evolved bug-type Pokemon, this is not the case as a fully evolved electric-type Pokemon. In particular, while their base HP and special attack stats are above average for fully evolved bug-type Pokemon, neither are so for an electric type. The only base stat of theirs that is above average for both of their assigned types is their base speed stat, leaving everything else below average and in turn rendering them fairly weak defensively. Even so, these electrical arachnid-morphs can still strike with great agility and utilize a number of powerful bug and electric type attacks in battle, so they can still prove to be a nuisance that few trainers may be fully equipped to handle on a moment's notice. Joltik are noted for being among the smallest of Pokemon, and thus can be easy to miss, and that is something that they effectively count on when it comes to absorbing and storing electricity for later use. As it turns out, while these creatures do have the electrochemical organ needed to store electricity for later use, it is still developing and is too weak for them to use to pull electrical energy from the air to harness as a weapon. As such, the only way that they can get electricity into their bodies, which they need to defend their small frames against predatory bird Pokemon, is by absorbing it from other sources. In the wild, these tiny creatures do this by clinging to the hairy bodies of larger Pokemon and absorbing static electricity from their form as their hair moves. While this means that it takes them a long time to build up any noticeable charge, their small frames make it easy for the Pokemon they are clinging to not notice them, and even when using the Absorb attack to steal energy from their vital fluids, they leak a toxin from their mouths that numbs the pain of their tiny bite and thus makes it almost impossible to tell when they are on you. This position further helps them to avoid predators, as few bird Pokemon are willing to attack the larger creatures they are attached to in fear of retaliation over a misunderstanding. In urban environments where this is not such a ready option, however, they are still in luck, as those that dwell in such environments have learned how to enter the houses of people and spit out a strand of non-electrified thread from their body into a wall outlet to directly absorb electricity in that fashion, granting them the capacity to survive in just about any type of climate or environment, their thick hair additionally protecting them against cold temperatures that would otherwise immobilize similar life forms, and in turn making Joltik far hardier creatures than one might initially think. Evolution into Galvantula allows these creatures to effectively use their electrical organ to both absorb and generate electricity as it was intended to, making them an electrical hazard for anyone to go near. These creatures tend to take a more passive approach to hunting, in that they choose to spin webs in places where insects are unlikely to see them and wait for something to get trapped in them. This applies not only to hanging structures, but also on the ground, as an increase in the amount of silk they can produce on a constant basis grants them access to the sticky web technique immediately upon evolving, and they are even capable of knitting and spewing out fully formed electroweb attacks from their mouth to attack escaping prey. In the case of hanging structures, these creatures will electrify their webs as they are being made, and once something flies into them, it is usually game over for the offending prey item. The shocking web helps to immobilize their prey item and make it easier for Galvantula to then bite into their prey and use their gastroacid technique to melt their insides, which can then be ingested like a drink or, in the case of smaller prey, can simply be torn to pieces while they are still alive and eaten in that fashion. If they are unable to finish eating a larger meal or want to save one for later, these animals will typically wrap them in a cocoon of electrified silk to keep them from escaping, both binding them to the web and electrifying them to keep them from struggling too much. It is interesting to note, though, that these webs can be used for more than hunting and offensive purposes, as the silk they produce is 10 times stronger than steel, and if they need a way to avoid an oncoming enemy attack in the wild and have enough space to make a web, Galvantula will do so, using the web as a shield against said attack. This might only be applicable in certain circumstances, but it nonetheless makes them surprisingly difficult to take down, and can help supplement their poor defenses in the right cases, while they make the most of their strong natural offenses to deal damage. While they might suffer from the poor defenses observed among many types of bug-type Pokemon, the members of the Joltik family are still unnerving beasts that can more than give opponents an electrifying wake-up call if they decide to underestimate what they are capable of. It might take a while to get these beasts into a fully evolved state, and prove to be relatively hard to not lose track of them, but they can still prove to be useful critters that can make good use of both of their assigned types to wreak havoc in a fight. If you're looking to add one of these arachnid-morphs to your team, do yourself a favor, and try not to go looking for adult Galvantula in the wild. Joltik might not be developed enough internally to pose a serious threat, but their evolved form is much stronger and smarter than they look, and if you don't pay careful attention to where you are walking, you might end up in one of their traps, only to find yourself becoming their prey while your painful electrocution keeps you from escaping what might prove to be a fairly grisly end. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
Yeah, no.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.